So now that we've talked about the value you should look to get from your points, I'm going to talk to you about the different ways in which you can use points and kind of the different formats in which you can transfer them and spend them and the consequent values of each one of those. The primary three are cash equivalent, airline currency, and transferable currency. And I'll talk to you about each one of those individually. So the first one is the cash equivalent option. You can, in fact, use your points as a statement credit. American Express gives you 0.6 per point, 0.6 cents per point. So if you are struggling to pay your statement, then you probably should not be using your credit cards to build airline points, but instead just pay your bills. You probably already know that. If you go to gift cards, you can get up to 1 cent per point. Still not the best value. Generally, some other cards use it on Amazon. You can use it to check out on Amazon. Usually it's going to be somewhere in this range. There is one exception you should be aware of, and that's if you have the Platinum card from American Express for Charles Schwab. And in that case, you can redeem your membership rewards to deposit into your Schwab account at a rate of 1.1 cents, 1.1 cent, I don't know, per point for up to 1 million points per year. So if you are just going to throw away a bunch of points on a statement credit, better to open a Schwab account and open a Platinum card from Schwab and transfer them there, so at least you're not losing tons of value, because 1 million points would be, what is that, like $10,000, and that could be $11,000 on Schwab, or if you just use it as a statement credit, it would be $6,000. So I would recommend doing that, but not in most cases. So the other option is to get an airline currency and build points specifically with one airline. And you can see there's lots of Delta cards, Southwest cards, American Airlines cards. There's like 10 American Airlines cards, I think. And then there's United cards and Frontier, Spirit, JetBlue, Visa. Well, this goes on. So if you do that, you're primarily going to be building currency, or points rather, with that specific airline. So you spend a bunch of money on a Delta Reserve card, you're going to get Delta SkyMiles. Spend it on an American card, you're going to get American AA Advantage miles, so on and so forth. The problem with that is what my dad ran into, and that he said, I remember a few years ago him saying, I want to retire with 1 million SkyMiles. And I thought, my dad is a genius, which my dad is actually a genius. But in this way, he may have been a little bit wrong. So the problem is that Delta can, and any airline really, can devalue their points whenever they want. So this person on Reddit found out that a ticket was $50,000 for a regular redemption, and then $42,500 if you have a Delta card. Certain Delta cards give you 15% off. But now they were only giving him the same exact flight for almost 70,000 miles. So his points were worth 0.08 cents. Now, if you pay with points at checkout, they're worth a minimum of 1 cent, so you can generally get 1 cent back. But there's really nothing stopping an airline from just saying, hey, your points aren't worth as much anymore. Here's another example of somebody who had a deal that they knew of that was 95,000 points. It was like from Australia to Mexico in business class with a connection on Aero Mexico. And it went up from 95,000 points to 495,000 points. That's a 5x increase in the price and 81% devaluation. Obviously, they're pretty upset about this. It's so bad, in fact, that the government is investigating these airlines because they get you to sign up for their cards, so they give you tons of points. And then later on, they say, oh, by the way, your points are not as valuable. And there's really nothing you can do about it because all of your eggs are in that basket. So there's really a lot of disadvantages to having all of your points with one specific airline, because in America, for better or for worse, shareholders take priority over frequent flyers. So if you really want to make money, maybe just invest in the airline rather than in their frequent flyer program, because they can tell you, hey, by the way, your points are worthless overnight, and there's really nothing that you can do about it. So let me just give you an example of what this has looked like. This is a Delta award chart before they went to dynamic charts, which basically means they advertised it like you could book any flight on Delta that you wanted, and it was so great because now you had access to any flight rather than just the seats that were available. Well, then they just assigned a cash value to them. But before they assigned a cash value to them, you could book a flight round trip to South Africa on Delta from anywhere in the United States. That I understand. I wasn't super big into Delta 10 years ago, but for 160,000 points. So that is a pretty good deal, actually. And there are still some programs that are around those prices. Now, Delta will charge you 990,000 miles to go from Atlanta to Johannesburg in business class round trip. That's a 600% increase in the price over the last 10 years and an 84% devaluation of your SkyMiles. That is a real bummer. Back in the day, you could go to South Africa and back 6 times in business class for 960,000 miles. Today, you can go back 1 time for 990,000 miles. You need more miles. So here is what airline points are valued at by NerdWallet as of November 2024. You can see Delta 1.2, American 1.6. American, in my opinion, is the best of these. If you have to have 1 million points in any airline right now, American is by far the best. They have so many great deals. Southwest, 1.5 cents, pretty much pegged at that right now. United also has lots of great deals. I don't have tons of exposure with the other airlines. I do know Alaska has lots of great deals as well, though I've never had tons of Alaska miles. So this should have been me 10 years ago. I should have said, Dad, you should spend your points before they're worthless. That would have been really nice for me to be able to tell him. But today's me is telling you, you should spend your points before they're worthless. Here's a list of hotel point valuations. I talked about Hyatt before. Hyatt is my favorite program and the one that I transfer to most of the time because they have such great redemptions all over the world. But any of these, that little sidebar at the bottom there, can change at any time without warning. They can tell you, sorry, your points are worthless, and there's really nothing that you can do about it. So I'm going to help you try to prevent that. You want to know, should I put all of my money on my Delta, United, American, Southwest, or other airline credit card? My answer, no. Should I save my points for a happy retirement? My answer, also no. What should I do? That question will be answered in the next video.